Vocalo Radio, Chicago's only urban alternative, 91.1 FM. That song we just got out of, in case you're like, I don't think I've heard that song before. It is a premiere exclusive from Taylor Bennett. We have him in the studio. Hello.
Yo. What's up, Chicago? Vocalo, what's the word? Appreciate you having me.
You're live. You're live in the studio.
What up?
I mean, release day must be so exciting, right?
Yeah, release day is extremely exciting.
You worked on a song. This song, I mean, it's 80 degrees outside, and you dropped this song? Outside.
It's the perfect timing, man. I'll say this. It takes a lot to get to this point. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm an independent artist. So a lot of this, you got to make the record, then you got to work on the strategy for it. You got to do all the legal work for it. You got to come up with the marketing strategy, idea, shoot the video, and then you get to do the release day. So release day for me is really like a celebration because it's like an ease that the song is finally out there. And then being an artist, there's only so much you could really control. So, you get out, you do the press, but it's really up to the people if they enjoy the record or not. But I loved creating it, man, and, to be able to put something out like this for the city of Chicago. Like you said, it's 80 degrees outside. Summer is officially here, Chicago, and we're bringing back juke music. Shout out to the Pope. The Pope is on this record, Chicago Legacy. We got 50 years of dance culture here, from bobbing to bopping to juking to footwork to so many other different things, stepping. But, to be able to bring those things together for this track, for the generations, for the community, for the city. Bless, man. What's up?
It sounds like something I'm going to hear, like, in a festival, on the streets. Like,
yeah. I'm trying to do it at the Billiken. We're going to do it at the Billiken for sure. That's locked in. But, yeah, all the other festivals, too, Good.
What was were you just like, we're gonna make a juke track to get people to dance? Like, what was your thinking behind this? Because it's very much like, you can't sit down and listen. When I first heard it, I was
gotta stand up. I'm rocking with you. Thank you. Yeah, you do gotta stand up. So I'll say, like, the thought behind it was this. For one, this record is, like I mentioned, featuring the Pope, legendary artist, dancer, just entertainer, and community organizer, I say.
Also, really
Chicago.
Interesting time for your name to be the Pope, right? For him, like,
yeah. I mean, I would say interesting time for the Pope, like the Pope that just went to the Vatican. Like, interesting time for him to be the Pope from Chicago, because and that's the thing about it. One of the reasons I made this record is, when you look at Chicago, like, I've been in the limelight, I want to say, for like 5 or 10 years. And, we really have two genres. It's either kind of like the drill, or it's like the conscious, urban, kind of thought. And I feel like I've teetered in between those since I first started. My first record, New Chevy, was with King Louis, and I got records with G Herbo, but I also got records with Chance, and records with Vic Mensa, and different artists that kind of share a different side of the city. But I feel like a big part of music that I never saw go into that full production was house music, juke music, ghetto house music, and the culture of kickbacks and juke parties. And that's what I grew up on, is going to these different parties on Saturdays, Fridays, and being inside somebody's basement with the lights off, playing tracks, and folks footworking, or folks juking, or folks just kicking back and relaxing and having a community. And us as young kids, but also with, parental advisory, like, back in the days where I feel like you didn't have to have a party and no parents were allowed, you know what I'm saying? Or back when parents could have parties and children could be allowed to be in the space because the music was something that generationally was acceptable. And I feel like it's a reason why we don't see, $6 million, $8 million deals going into, the Pope or Creation or, all these different artists that, if you look back at DJ Chip, and we've created so many different waves of music throughout the years that have had mainstream level success. However, it seems like nobody really wants to invest, whether it's money or time, into bringing back something that's so positive, and I would say almost healing for our community. One thing about the juke culture and the footwork community and just kickbacks and all of this stuff is, like, this isn't something that we had to go out and get money, and it's not like the club, like, you got to go there and spend $500. Like, it's literally like, we create the environments, we created the records. Most of the records were produced by Chicago producers. Most of the raps were created by Chicago rappers. And, the functions were thrown by our community. So it's for us, by us. And you don't find that very often just in music, period. So me being independent and having an option of creativity and what I want to make, if I'm going to make a drill song, if I'm going to make a conscious rap song, fuck, forget that. Like, I want to make music that makes people want to dance, that brings out a positive feeling that not only they can relate to, but that they could also promote, so the kids or people that look like them can look up to them and be like, I want to do that because I want that feeling. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I made this.
No,
this
I do have to say, like, I'm from the West Coast. I'm originally from California.
There we go.
The first time I saw Footwork, I was like, hold on, what is this?
Yeah.
I was like, hold on, first of all, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do this. I was like, just as a dancer, I'm like,
Right.
this is, the math is not mathing with my feet.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I was so amazed. I'm like,
Yeah.
is this not known even just nationally?
And it's like,
You know,
there's a
like-
lot of artists like Missy Elliott. She's had so many different, I know she has some members from Creation in some of her videos and dances, some of her shows. And, there's a lot of mainstream artists, Chris Brown, that, they know the different folks, like they know the Pope, they know the dancers. And when they have opportunities for them, they bring them out because they see that culture and understand its depth within the communities. But to your point, I feel like, also, I'll say this, like as a Black businessman that's within the music industry, I feel like, something that's become very hot over the last 10 years is like, if you have a song, there has to be a TikTok, like, dance to it. And usually these are like new, simple dances that anybody could do. To your point, footwork's not one of those dances, but it is a historical and cultural dance. And to the other point you made, you said you're from, did you say the Bay?
California.
You're from California.
Yeah,
so
like LA.
you guys, I mean, I don't want to say it's just crip walking, but y'all have, what dances do you guys have? Like, you guys have some historical dances.
I mean, the jerk, right?
Right,
The
jerking. Like, literally,
the jerk came
I
in SoCal.
was just in LA last week, and I was like, I'm the new legacy. Like, I had a hoodie on with no t-shirt under it, and I was rejecting. And I feel like jerking is something that relates to you all's culture historically, and it crosses generations. So, like, and also, if I'm not, I could be wrong, but I think that jerking comes from something else, like, or it might stem.
I think,
don't know
yeah,
exactly.
no, from like breaking. I mean, LA,
Exactly, from breaking, because
probably
breakdancing was
Yeah.
huge in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So that's the point that I'm making, is that there's a historical factor involved with juke music, with jerk music that goes back and crosses generations. And when it comes to nowadays putting music out, we're so into trying to get people to learn these new dances that don't really have any historical backing. But in every city and every space, if it's not juking, if it's Memphis and it's juking, or if, like you said, it's California and it's jerking, there's these different historical dances that bring us all together as a community. And being a hip hop artist, when I was growing up, I didn't play Lil Wayne in the car with my mom and dad because he was cursing so much and it was unacceptable, but I would play it when I got in my room. Same thing with my mom at Outkast. She wouldn't play Outkast in the car with us because it was stuff that we couldn't hear. However, she would play it when she was with her friends, and it creates a separation just between the families of, what they're intaking and the comfortability of conversation. And I think that I want to get away from that in terms of hip hop, because I think the real thing about not just hip hop, but Black music is it's about community. So I'll say lastly, me being, I am like a Black historic fanatic when it comes to Berry Gordy's Stax Records, Chess Records, the United Talent Brothers, Records Row, like things that a lot of people don't really look into, I look into. And, I've done the research on different time periods of, Black people when they first came to Chicago. A lot of people don't know this, but Arista Records that was on Records Row was owned by a Black woman at one point, and she was one of the first Black people in the United States to have the rights of the Beatles music before it was sold. So when it first came to the UK, she had it. Michael Jackson also drove up here from Gary, Indiana, and recorded the first Jackson 5 song in her basement. But there's a lot of history within Chicago, and as I followed that timeline, I got to a point where I was actually listening to house music, which, at some point some people would say was flipped into ghetto house music, which then eventually became juke music, which then eventually became tracks, which, is the backing of a lot of the music we have today. So it was an interesting moment for me to not just historically be reaching into something that I had an understanding, but also be in a period as an artist where now I could create art with people that were a part of these different time periods and make something new that historically could shadow all of these, conversations.
There definitely is nothing like, especially when you haven't ever heard it. There's nothing like hearing juke music. There's nothing like hearing like house music in Chicago in a basement, and you don't even know how you got there at 5 a.m. And seeing people do footwork, like there's really no experience like that.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see artists like yourself putting that more like on a global stage. Like
I appreciate that. Yeah.
People do need to see it because it
They
is
do.
amazing.
And
It
it's
is
who we
amazing.
are, and I think that they get a lot of, they don't get the full piece all the time.
And now I'm not trying to call you out or something, but you're definitely someone who is very much outside. You are outside a lot.
I am always outside Chicago. Y'all know I'm outside. I'll see you in 20 minutes, Chicago. Catch me walking down Michigan Avenue or North Beach, somewhere.
You're someone that loves Chicago. I mean,
love
we'll see
Chicago.
sometimes like we open your store and you're just like in someone's stories, like
Yeah.
in a car somewhere, just driving down LSD. Like it's just, so you're very much someone who loves Chicago. Will you always stay in Chicago?
Yeah, I'll always stay in Chicago. When I first started to gain some success, I temporarily moved to Los Angeles.
I was gonna say because that's the pressure when you get a little
the pressure,
successful.
man.
That's the pressure. Like you
There
need
was
to move to
people that were
LA.
like, we gotta go to LA, man. Like, there's nothing left for you in Chicago. Like, you gotta work with bigger artists, bigger producers, bigger engineers, all these different things. And when I went to LA, I just felt very disconnected. And I think it took me really coming back to Chicago to figure out that, again, I'm not always gonna make juke music. I'm not gonna always make dance music or conscious music or, sometimes I make rock music, and a lot of what I am influenced by comes from the people and the places that I've grown within Chicago. So like, it's hard for me sometimes to even dive as deeply as I want to because I can't really engage a memory without having one of my good friends there that's been with me for 10 years that will bring up a story or say something that will bring me back to a time period. And I think that's also something, a reason why I can't leave Chicago. Like, the best people, come from here. And we don't have to go down the list. LOL. But a lot of people, that, I'm, very influenced by come from Chicago. And they didn't stay in Chicago. But I feel like there's so much work to be done here. And I really do believe this. Like in 20 or 30 years, Chicago is going to be worth more than it's even worth right now. Just based off the historical evidence and the value. Like there's so many different things that have happened within Chicago, that kind of set the precedent for the way that we moved within America and then eventually around the world. So I just feel like it's such a hub, and having this knowledge and, feeling like I understand the potential of Chicago because I'm from here and I've seen the success stories and also things that haven't gone in the ways that I think they should have. I almost feel like it's a responsibility of mine to like be here and, whether it's to give the helping hand or to deny somebody, trying to bring something dangerous or whatever it might be to the city. I feel like I should be that guy.
So you're gonna run for mayor next? Is that
no?
is that
I don't
the
feel
next...
like you should be the mayor to be that guy. I think it's hard to be that guy when you're the mayor. I just mean like, people talk about this all the time. Like within Chicago, there's a huge music scene, but there's never really been so much of a music industry, which makes a lot of sense because, in Atlanta, there's Jermaine Dupri and QC Records. And then in New York, of course, there's all the hubs. In LA, there's all the hubs. And in Chicago, we have, never really had a major label. We've had imprints that have been very successful. But I think just based off the fact that there hasn't been a major label here, to your point, a lot of us artists that do get successful, our agents, our managers, the ways that we forces us to basically leave the city. So I don't want to do that. I feel like, there's, for example, this music video, Features the Pope, produced by 2 Chicago producers, shot by Milky Made It, who shoots G Herbo and a lot of other Chicago artists' stuff. The video was produced by myself, my management, and my team, and then it was captured at XPAC in the West Loop of Chicago. So, and all the influencers and folks involved are real Chicago folks. It was a real party that we threw this video for, and that's why it looks so wild. So it's like, I can't do that anywhere else. But also I want to continue to build and nurture these relationships because they work with other artists. And I think by expanding, those relationships, eventually we will have that sustainable industry in Chicago,
I love what you said where there's a big music scene, but there isn't
not a huge music industry.
Yeah. That is very much the word. So, I mean, you have your own record label.
Yeah.
Tay Bennett Entertainment. And you have people on there like some Vocalo favorites, Bianca Shaw.
Shout out Bianca.
Yeah, we love Bianca Shaw.
We love B.
So I was just curious, like, what are some things you look for in artists? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in your DMs or they catch you, like, can you listen to my song? Like,
yeah, for
what are
sure.
some things you look for?
I think one of the biggest things is just being passionate. I'll never forget, like, when I first met Bianca, was a mother of 2 then, now a mother of 4 because she's had 2 sets of twins. Shows how strong she is. Shout out to you again, B. But I remember when I first met B, and she was working on so many different records and so many different songs, and they all kind of had these different vibes to it because she's such a she's not just an artist that you can put on one lane. Like, she can sing, she can rap, she likes rock, she likes rap, she does R&B, she dances, she plays the drums. She's literally all over the place. And one of the first things that or one of the biggest things I wanted to do with her was, for one, kind of cement her name, which she ended up being featured on my largest single out, which is Be Yourself, but then also create a project with her and for her that could showcase all of these different abilities, whether it be musically or production-wise, but then also from a music video perspective, kind of show the stretch of diversity that she has in her music. And we did Exhale, and it was an amazing project, and she killed that shit. It was a SoundCloud exclusive. It premiered on Rolling Stone. But yeah, it was just super awesome, and I think when it came to B, she was passionate about it, and I never really had to question if she was in it because she wanted to be, or if she was in it because I was saying this is what you should do, or if someone else was telling her you could do this, you can make it. And they call that the it factor in the industry. So I think for me, it's usually making sure that whoever the artist is, that they are, they're devoted enough to it that I don't have to look for them because they understand that this is in their hands. And even though I could be your manager, I could be the CEO of the label, I could do the splits meetings and, playlisting for editorials and whatever, at the end of the day, you got to be the one that decides I'm going to stay here an hour later in the studio. Or you got to be the one that decides, like, I got this new record and, like, this is the one. I really want to push this one. Or you got to be the one that says, okay, I'm ready to step out of where I am now and step into this new. And I think that's a very rare thing, which is why I don't have, like, a fleet of artists that are signed to me, because I think, it is a key thing. But yeah, that's what I look for. You just got to be passionate about what you do, and you have to believe in yourself. Not have a bunch of people believing in you or feeling like, So.
And you have a new project coming out soon, right?
Yeah, I do have a new project coming out at the end of this summer. But most importantly, make sure you guys get loose. That's out right now. And my next record is going to be coming out exactly a month after this. I'm actually going to be dropping a music video every month, including a single. So it's really go time. Like, I'm
for how many months? How many months are you
until the end of summer, and then y'all gonna get the project. But it's really go time. Like, I'm really excited for this. Again, I feel like being an independent artist, I've never signed. I've never had a distro deal or a pub deal, especially not a record deal. So I've had a lot of different, and for anybody that's listening on the radio, I've been in every room that y'all have been in and talked to everybody that y'all have talked to. I've had people be like, hey, if you don't sign this or if you don't do this, you're never going to get on MTV or you're never going to be on Good Morning America or you're never going to do whatever. It's not true. And now I'm in a space where I ended up doing so much of the business work that I manage my brother Chance, or I manage A Damn Killer, or I work with Bianca Shar. I have my own label, but I'm also putting out music at an exponential rate. So I'm super excited, man. I'm here to shake this up. You know, I'm from Chicago. Like, we really make music that, you know, it's not like you could box it into conscious or drill. It's like we make juke, we make drill, we make conscious. And I'm here to be all of those things and more. So I'm excited.
I love that. And just for, this is a fun like listener thing. Both you and Chance, when you came up to do interviews at Vocalo, you guys both slid in the DMs. It was like the same exact.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like, that's the whole thing. Like, and that's what I'm also telling my people, if y'all hearing me in Chicago, is like, if you meet Ebro from Apple, he's going to say, yeah, Taylor emails me about him and Chance to have meetings when they got records coming out. Or if you meet Vanessa from XXL, or if you meet any of these people within the industry, they're all going to say the same thing. They're going to say, Taylor and Chance reached out to me directly on text, on email, on DM, and it's always been like that. Andrew Barber, Fake Shore Drive, emailed him. Anybody in every space. And I think there's an ideal that is out there for entertainers just all together, that you can't do the sport or be the entertainer and also do the business.
The management. I was noticing
and that's
that.
a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always use this philosophy. It's like, have you ever made a sandwich for yourself and then you're done making and you're like, what do I do with this? Do I give it to somebody else? Do I eat it now? No, because it's like, you make the product, you know what's best for it, you know how you should eat it, when you should eat it. And I think it's weird that, you know, we kind of have this ideology when it comes to entertainment and
where
sports,
you need to be behind
where
your
you
manager.
have to be behind.
You're just,
and
you're
your
the
parents,
face.
your family will sit in a room and tell you, once you get that scholarship, like, all right, son, who you going to have manage you? Who's going to be your business manager? Because that's the philosophy. That's what they've, you know, really taught us. But, you know, I want to continue to be that representation that, no, that's not true, but also be somebody that people can look at as proof, you know, that this is a truth and this is a fact. So.
All right, we're going to get back into the song. If you're just tuning in, we have Taylor Bennett in here with us.
Yeah.
His new single, Get Loose. If you're driving right now, this is the perfect thing to just like roll your windows down.
And blast it for the whole city.
And turn it all the way up.
Turn the city up. Get loose.
Now, again, you are outside. Where are you going to be? Somewhere soon where people could catch you, people could see you?
Hey, I be outside all the time, Chicago. If y'all see me outside, just walk up, ask me for a picture. But more importantly, Get Loose is out right now. If you guys make a video and tag me as a collaborator on Instagram, I'll post y'all. So let's get these followers up and let's blast this Get Loose, Chicago. Appreciate y'all.
Chemistry going crazy.